Germany is hosting an official visit to the country by the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge today as part of a PR offensive by the British government aimed at softening Britain's image in Europe ahead of Brexit negotiations. Prince William, who is second in line to the British throne, was accompanied by his wife, Princess Kate, and their 2 children. The couple are being hailed as so-called Brexit ambassadors, and the visit coincides with the 100th anniversary since the British royal family changed their name to Windsor from their original German origin title Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. The royals' family links to Germany have historically proved problematic. The name change in 1917 was prompted by the First World War, when Germany and Britain were at war with each other, and German Gotha bombers prompted widespread speculation among the British public as to the loyalty of the royals to Britain. The name change did successfully dampen anti-monarchy speculation, but with the onset of the Second World War, the royals' links to Germany and the Nazi regime that took over there once again came under the spotlight. In 1937, just a year after abdicating, former King Edward VIII, the Duke of Windsor, met with Nazi leader Adolf Hitler and was pictured giving the Nazi salute, beginning a relationship that continued well into the Second World War, with concerns expressed by MI5 that the former king was passing state secrets to the German Führer. 3 of the 4 sisters of the Duke of Edinburgh, the current Queen's husband, were Nazi Party members during the 1930s and 40s and were married to high-ranking Nazi figures in the German regime. In 2005, Prince Harry, Prince William's younger brother, caused a scandal by appearing at a fancy dress party in full SS uniform. And in 2015, footage emerged of a young Elizabeth, the future Queen, giving the Nazi salute, apparently encouraged to do so by her mother and father, King George VI, who apparently filmed the scene. So is the royal tour currently underway, a sign that the royals have successfully moved on from their sensitive links to Germany? And will the visit do anything to soften European opinions of the UK ahead of crucial Brexit negotiations? Well, that's a question I put earlier to Thomas Mace Archer Mills, chairman of the British Monarchist Society and Foundation.
I do feel that, of course, with younger royals such as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, that it will most certainly soften the image of Brexit on the continent. And when we have such a young, vibrant couple that have wonderful, gorgeous, beautiful children, that's going to be used by everyone to push their own agenda. Some people will say, well, the Duke and Duchess are there strictly to push Brexit and show that it's not going to be so bad. And the other side will say, oh, well, look at this family that are just trying to parade around and gain as much support for the United Kingdom during and after Brexit. But the truth is, there are no better ambassadors for the United Kingdom than the royal family. And this is seen in the newspapers on the continent where they're being hailed as Brexit ambassadors. Because what we are identified with is our tradition, our heritage, our history, 1,000 years of living history summed up in members of the royal family. So it's very difficult when we politicize their position. And I do fear that this is what's going to happen when we put the young prince and duchess to Europe.
Am I right in saying you're worried that their political neutrality, which has been a bulwark of the royals' presence in the UK, may be compromised if they're pushed too heavily?
If they are pushed too heavily, yes. I can definitely see some damage being caused here by people who would like to very much politicize this visit to Poland and to Germany.
And it's exactly 100 years since the royal family changed their name from Saxe-Coburg-Gotha to Windsor to avoid growing anti-German sentiment in the UK during the First World War. Do you think that German heritage is still a problem for the royals today, and how much does that legacy resonate in Germany?
Well, I don't think it's so much a problem today because after decades and decades from the war, we're 70 years on from the war, and we look at the lasting legacy and we say that, okay, we have the House of Windsor, which on Monday, to the day, was 100 years of celebrating that name change. In Germany, they're very popular in Germany, our royal family. But I don't for the reasons that one might say, well, it's because they're a German-based family. Their roots are German, their name was German. King George V spent a lot of time trying to sort himself and his family out as to what to do when his cousins were bombing him during the First World War. How do they go ahead and try to remove themselves from the German sentiments and anti-German sentiments that were going around? And I think what the successive monarchs have done since George V was not only to continue to be very English and British in their way of continuing their line, but keeping close on the political movements happening in other countries. And when we've watched what's happened in Germany since the past war, and we've looked what's happened through the 90s, and we look now what's happening with the European Union, again, we're going to have different factions that are going to want to latch on to anything that the royal family does to either push their own agenda or to help further other political goals and aspirations.
And although the monarchy remains very popular in the UK, and despite the interest this tour has generated in Europe, the fact remains that half of the countries who maintained Britain's monarch as head of state when the current Queen came to the throne in 1952 have subsequently become democratic republics and replaced the British monarchy with an elected head of state. Once the current Queen finally stands down, do you think there should be a fresh debate on the merits or otherwise of maintaining a monarchical system of government in the UK?
Well, when we look at monarchy and we look at what had happened after the age of empire, we saw a lot of countries go ahead and turn to republicanism. And when we look at it right now, the 16 realms of which Her Majesty is Queen, many of them have retained the crown. We look at Papua New Guinea, who didn't retain anything. They became their own country when they severed from Australia. They became a republic and then said, well, this is not working for us. We have 800 tribes. We have 1,000 tribes, actually. We can't come to any sort of agreement. How do we do this? So they actually appealed to Buckingham Palace and the Queen and became a monarchy. And when we look at what's happening in the world with such just divided partisanship between parties and no real voice for the people, there isn't anything, any anchor in these Republican countries that we have. So, of course, some people still have a stigma about Prince Charles, and they might say, well, look, we don't like the man. He's out of touch with us, which, of course, he's not. He's just very much a misunderstood person. But a debate on the monarchy in other realm countries, of course, I think will happen.